What's happening, everyone? How you doing today? True art believers, welcome to another art vlog. So today I am going to be working on drawing some thumbs, or I'm working on the fingers from George Bridgman's Constructive Anatomy book, or one of his books actually. And more specifically, I'm going to be tackling the first dorsal interosseous. If I can get my pen to work, there we go. If I can get my pen to work, I am going to draw like what is going to be a thumb overlapping some really old drawings that I did as a kid. Yeah, I did these as a kid, and so I'm going to draw on top of these, and hopefully they'll be slightly better than the drawings I did as a kid. Sometimes, man, I look at some of the work I did as a kid, and I'm like, man, I did something was clicking that day, because sometimes I look at them like I feel like as a kid I was doing better work than I am now. It's kind of a weird, like it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing seeing old work and seeing some of the skill that was being used, or some of the skill that I was doing, or some of the drawing skill that I was exhibiting in old work. And I'm like, man, my shading, my hatching was on point. I think maybe I was a mixture between like really cautious, really slow, really mindful, and really intent on getting better to some degree. And now I'm just like, I feel like it's almost like I haven't got better, or I've just kind of like plateaued, or I'm just kind of the same, maybe a little bit better in some areas, maybe a little bit weaker in other areas. But I think I had more focus, more like intent, more free time back then. Way more free time, that's for sure. And that could be part of the reasons why I don't know, not necessarily better, but definitely there was some skill that was being exhibited, and I look at it, I'm like, man, not this stuff. This stuff is like kind of garbage. I mean, some people might like it. I don't, but like, there's some final drawings I did that I spent a lot of time on, that were really nice. I think part of it was like the imagination. I think like when you're younger, you're just like you're more open to like just having ideas. And when you're younger, you're not like burdened by people telling you, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, or that's a dumb idea. And you're so stubborn at the time as a teenager, you're like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about, even though they may or may not be right, but like you're more open to doing new things. And it's just really hard to do it later on. And it might be because maybe, just maybe, like your brain has matured a little bit. Maybe you have like that there's this thing called neuroplasticity that I keep hearing about, that has to do with like your ability to kind of just be more malleable and be more open to ideas with creativity and just like learning in general. And that very well might be the case. But man, I look at some of my old work and like, this is some nice stuff, top gear. Now, I'm not saying that my new work isn't bad, but like there's some nice stuff that was happening in my old work as a kid. Not all of it. I'm not saying like everything was a masterpiece. As a matter of fact, a lot of things were garbage, but like there might have been a point in my youth where I was drawing something and things were just really clicking, and things were very obvious to me at the time, or maybe I didn't have any caffeine. I didn't drink coffee as a kid, of course, until like later, like when you get like a teenager, like I am gonna be a rebel and go to Waffle House and drink coffee at 1 a.m. and get kicked out because I'm not gonna tip, because I don't have the money. I'm a kid. And then I get calls from my parents. Like, where are you? I'm at Waffle House. Get home now. No, anyhow, here we are. And I'm just going to add some shading right here. The shading is not actually in this drawing, but I'm going to add it anyways. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this area with red and maybe like the ligaments with red. And then I thought to myself, let's go ahead and add like black for like bones and muscle and skin. So you can have like a little bit of a little bit of a separation in the drawing here, and maybe it'll pop through the previous sketch, right? You're not actually, it's not really popping through anyways. When you're drawing on top of old drawings, you have to have the contrast has to be so pronounced, so vivid. It has to jump through the layer below it. And if you're not applying enough contrast, enough value, or heavy enough line, it's not going to project forward. And so what I'm probably going to have to do, like what I'm doing right now, is just kind of adding, overemphasizing shading right now. Just overemphasizing it. And hopefully, just hopefully, it will become more pronounced than the very heavy-handedness. When I was younger, I was definitely a lot more heavy-handed. So like I understand when you're younger or when you're starting out that like the urge to like press really hard. I really understand it. Like I get it. But all I can say is you just got to practice. You have to practice applying less pressure with your pen, pencil, or whatever you're using. And it's just a learned skill. And you just can't, it just doesn't happen immediately. Although I've encountered some people who have really light touch, and I'm like, wow, you do not put any pressure on the paper at all. And that's a good thing, because that means you have a little bit more control on your heavy-handedness, or maybe you just don't know it, and it's kind of like a thing that you do arbitrarily. You know, you just kind of do it arbitrarily, and it just kind of happens, you know, naturally, and it has nothing to do with, maybe it has nothing to do with your sensitivity to line weight. You're just like naturally light-handed with everything that you do. And maybe you have a problem actually intentionally applying pressure to your drawing so that you can get heavier line weight, heavier shadows. And, you know, that might be a thing that you have to kind of deal with your art or anything that you pursue. I don't know. But me personally, I typically have a slightly heavier hand with my artwork. I kind of press hard, and it ends up biting me in the backside, bite me in the butt later on, you know, kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't fix this because I pressed too hard the entire time. And now I have these really dark lines, really dark tones. And what am I going to do? So sometimes I have to kind of play around with it and hope for the best. So I think it's kind of coming through. I don't know. You can kind of see it. So this is supposed to be like the bone, the thumb bone. And I'm assuming this is probably like this bone on the hand, maybe. It doesn't give me context to what it is, because it's just a small segment, a small study of the human hand. And so I don't really have context. So I'm just kind of thinking that that's what George Bridgman was trying to express in this drawing. I had a friend back in the day. I don't know how he's doing or where he's at, but I remember he told me that he wanted to like do anatomy illustrations for like books, medical books, you know? And I wonder if he ever did that. Now with today's AI and stuff like that, I don't know how lucrative that's going to be now, because everything's being kind of taken over to some degree, for better or for worse, in my opinion. I don't know if it's a Can't tell you if it's a good or negative thing, but it's definitely a thing that's happening. And we better adapt, I guess. I don't know. Or maybe not. Maybe not. You just let it happen, and then people might start buying original artworks made by people as opposed to made digitally. Or it might go the opposite. Maybe people like the immediacy of getting something, their idea out there quicker. You know, maybe, who knows? I don't know. I'm just kind of ranting about AI. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but some people think it's a good thing. Some people think it's a bad thing. You know, they're like, it's good because it can. People think it's good because it can increase productivity, increase your the speed in which your ideas are being produced or your images are being produced. Some people worry that it's bad because it to some degree, or to most degrees actually, it's kind of like stealing people's work, you know, because really what it is just a giant conglomerate, a facsimile of multiple images combined into one, and from the internet. So the AI is taking images or taking small little parts of artworks or images from life, artists, etc., and recombining them into an image or a video. So to some degree, it's just a giant copy machine that copies it in a different manner. But you know, that's what some people can make the argument that that's what we as humans kind of do anyways. And then they could say, well, it's not stealing. But there's been, I don't know how, I'm not in this argument, and I know a lot of artists are really fighting against it. Good on them, you know. But I don't know. I've heard that there's been photographers that have literally had full images almost pretty much stolen because the AI just janks it. It's like, this is my image now. What are you gonna do? And in that case, you know, I think that's wrong. I don't know. But I think it's a good idea that it's not copyrightable at this point because it's a new technology. And anyways, I think it's a good idea because I don't know. I think that's just a good idea. So in theory, no one owns whatever you've created via AI, because in theory, it's basically just a giant Mod Podge of other people's ideas, albeit super cleverly masked. You know, it's hidden through layers and layers of other people's images. So you have thousands of images combining to make one image. The same thing with videos. It's so crazy. It's crazy how that works. But anyway, so this you can kind of see it. So this is some tendon or ligament right here. Right here is a muscle called the first dorsal, we're calling it first dorsal interosseous. It's the pad. So it's either right here or on top. I can't tell if this is the top view or the bottom view of the hand, but it's the pad between the thumb and first finger. So that's what that is. Interosseous. So that's what I drew right here. I'm going to use this blue pen right here. I'm just going to make a little line. I'm going to, let's go. Boop, 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 boop. And so that's what it is. It's the first dorsal interosseous, and as I said, it's the pad in between the thumb and first finger. Anyways, I think that's it. That's all I wanted to draw. Maybe I'll draw. I don't know if I like this page. It has too much going on, but I'm gonna draw on top of it. Just gonna draw on top of it. Just how I roll. Anyways, I gotta get going. It's a Monday. Monday is super hectic for me. But anyways, I just want to say thank you so much. And you all rock. And you keep it classy, friends. Cheers.